Hi, this is Paisley Trees.
This is Dr. Crow.
And today we are playing, drumroll please.
Arabia.
Yes, I know we said we would play Persia, but I want to wait until the new Persia is out.
Nader Shah.
Nader Shah, and I really wanted to play this new Arabia Civ, Sultan Saladin. So that's what we're going to play today.
Yeah, let's get started.
Yeah. As you see here, I have a game all loaded up for us. It is deity level, barbarian, heroes, and secret societies modes on, as well as my other mods that
standard mods.
The standard mods as well. It is a continents map, I believe. Now, I've played about 9 or 10 turns of this map, and it was so good. The beginning, I was just like, I need to stop and save this for the recording. And a few reasons. One is we can settle this Plains Hills and get a 2-2 base. Okay. And we have lots of chops. And also there are geothermal fissures on this map.
Nice.
Which will be very helpful in getting high agency
campi,
right? Cactus, cacti, octopus, octopi. I rest my case. You cannot argue against me.
Okay.
We will say campi.
Okay. In this house.
In this house, we say campi.
Right. Now, I just founded Cairo.
Yeah.
And what are some of the features of Arabia as a Civ in Civ 6?
Yeah, so the new Arabia has 100% flanking and support bonus to all combat and religious units. So we will be going for a religious victory. The rest are the same as the Vizier Saladin. So the last prophet, you don't need to work towards prophet points. You just get the last prophet. Once everyone else gets theirs, you get yours. The Mamluk, which is a special heavy cavalry unit.
Guy on a horse.
Guy on a horse unit.
Yeah.
And the Madrasa, which is a building in the campus.
In the campi.
I was speaking singularly, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a very religious heavy focus civ, maybe even better than Vizier Saladin for a religious victory.
Okay.
And why do you think they set up this civ like this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a little obvious.
Yes,
but it's something also we should talk about too, because obviously the way they set up Arabia as a civ in Civ 6 is to be simultaneously an Islamic civ, right? To be representative of Islam, in a sense. And so their abilities, the last prophet, their buildings like the Madrasa are clearly in the Islamic framework. And, you know, obviously this is not incorrect, right? Or this is something that's very integral to Arabic history, Arabic language.
Right.
But at the same time, we want to kind of distinguish between them because Islamic history is not just Arabic history.
Right.
It's also Turkish, Malay, Malian, you know, but also Arabic history is not just Islamic history. Because there are many, many, many populations of Arabs who are not Christian, or not.
They're not Muslim.
Not Muslim.
But they may be Christian, Jews.
Right.
There's other religious denominations as well.
For sure. So for that reason,
I almost said religious dominations.
that reason, they're these intertwined histories, and we can't necessarily separate them. But at the same time, we don't want to just necessarily collapse them together.
Yeah. So this is how far I got to when I was like, oh, wait, this is a good game. I just got another scout and I got the Void Singers, which are really important for a faith game. You get 4 faith per monument in each city. So I'm really excited to get that. But I already appointed Magnus in my capital for chopping.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's really, yeah. So the rest is all new for me, but I'm really happy we got Void Singers again.
Yeah, and we should clarify here that we're not experts generally on the sort of history of Islam or of Arabic language, Arabic culture, Arabic history, except insofar as it relates to our area, which is Ottoman and Iranian history.
Right.
Well,
I mean, to some extent, we teach it, right?
We have to teach it.
I teach Islamic architecture, art and architecture as a teaching assistant. So for me, where my course or the course I taught for began was with, the Kaaba and the House of the Prophet Medina. But we also cover the mosque in Damascus and the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, the Umayyad buildings in Cordoba, things like that. So to some extent, we know a little bit, but we don't speak Arabic, which is a really key part of being a historian of this region.
Right, for sure. And some people, people might not know, but Turkish, Arabic, and Persian are totally separate language families. They're not related in that way.
Yeah, not just different languages, but different language families.
Totally. So they share a lot of vocabulary because of shared history, shared cultural dissemination. But in terms of the languages themselves, they're very distinct. And because of that, people will be like, oh, Persian, that's kind of like Arabic, right? But it's not.
Yeah, I mean, the script is the same. Well, there's a few extra letters in Persian. So like the ch sound, I believe, is extra. The g sound.
Yeah, the ch, p is just in Persian.
So there's some modifications to the script that Ottoman Turkish also borrows from Persian.
Yeah.
So if I see a word in Arabic, I can read it, but 50-50 if I can tell you what it means, because again, there's so many shared words. But the sort of the grammar rules of Arabic are really unique and unlike Persian and Turkish or English, the other three languages I know. So for example, the roots, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so languages like Arabic, Hebrew, Coptic, Egyptian have a basis of a root of 3 consonants, and you can fit that root into multiple forms to produce different verbal forms and produce different noun forms. And so, yeah, for that reason, it's very, very different from a language like Persian, which is Indo-European, or Turkish, which is a Turkic language.
Is it Mongolian? Is it related to Mongolian?
There's some similarities, yeah, but Turkic is its own branch, yeah. But these words do come into Turkish and Persian as nouns.
Right.
And they did come into Ottoman as verbs as well.
So do you want to give an example of the ways you can modify a root?
Well, madrasa, for instance, right? The DRS is the consonant root. So madrasa is school, but dars is lesson, right? Things like that. Kitab is book, or kitab in Arabic is book, but mektep, right, is something else. Mektup in Turkish is letter, as in like a letter you mail to someone. So these things, they're related, semantically related, but they have different grammatical meanings.
Right. And so in Turkish, for example, a lot of these words are borrowed as individual words, not as a productive form of creating words.
Yeah, but in Arabic, it's very productive. So you can produce all kinds of interesting concepts.
Right. So we just met the Ottomans. I did handpick the civs that we're going to be going up against. But like I said, I was practicing and playing around, and I just kind of like off the top of my head guessed which other civs would be good. I didn't really consult Dr. Crow. So I may be very off on these, but the first one I picked was the Ottomans, because the Ottomans and the Mamluks have a big war in, I think, 1517. So it's a very significant period for the Arab civ, which we should talk about. It's a little controversial, but and I picked Tamar because she gave like medieval vibes, I picked the Byzantines, which I think works pretty well in terms of time period and also neighboring civ. I picked Mansa Musa because, again, gave off like, this seems like it's the same time period. I'm not even sure if that's true.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Eleanor of France, because she gave off like crusade vibes. Again, not 100. I didn't look it up, but it was the vibes.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
No, sounds good.
Yeah, I just killed a barbarian here, and I'm going to take the money first so that I can keep spawning more barbarians to kill.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I said this thing that it's the Arab Civ.
Yeah.
It's not like the Ottomans, for example, which is a clear empire with a beginning and end date, like a territory marked, right? The Arab Civ is a little bit different than that.
Yeah, it's interesting that Civ has two types, basically, of civilizations. Some of them are states, like America, like the Ottomans, and some of them are sort of peoples, I guess you could say, or language families. Arabia, as a sort of unified entity, is kind of more of a projection into the past of a single thing, rather than a historical singular entity, right? There's multiple Arabic-speaking states, multiple Arabic-speaking empires. Today, of course, there's many, many, many Arabic-speaking countries. Different games do it differently, right? So like Age of Empires 2, it's just peoples, right? It's like Arabs, Britons, Franks.
Britons, really?
Yeah. Vikings, right? Whereas Age of Empires 4, they do a mix. So it's like English, French, but then Abbasid Dynasty, Delhi Sultanate, Holy Roman Empire.
And so the Civ before had the Arabians, right?
Yeah, I think in Civ 3 they were there. I think Civ 3. But the leader was Abu Bakr, so much earlier. Right after during the Prophet's life and right after.
Yeah, so, you know, we're in the 600s.
Yeah, whereas here with Saladin, we're talking high Middle Ages, 1100s, right? So it's a very different sort of time period.
And so we can think about this idea of like, what do people usually mean when they mean the Arabian civilization? I think people often imagine the Arabian Peninsula, but here we have Cairo as the capital and Saladin, who isn't even Arab.
Yeah, ethnically is Kurdish.
Yeah.
So again, here's where we kind of see, I think, the conflation of a kind of Islamic civ with the Arabic civ, right?
Right.
But of course, Arabic was also the lingua franca, right? So again, it's kind of hard to disentangle that way. But yeah, I think clearly what they've tried to do here is make it more centered on the later time period, the Crusades era, so Middle Ages, which is actually interestingly not what was historically considered, you know, in like popular history and in 19th, 20th century history as the Islamic Golden Age, which was in the 800s, 900s. So here it's a little bit later, actually.
Right. And so what do you mean by Golden Age? Because it's similar to the narratives we discussed with the Ottomans.
Yeah, the same sort of narrative is created, which is that there's a very rapid rise, which has multiple points where it's like a golden age. So one golden age happens in Spain, and Cordoba, and Andalusia. And then there's another golden age happening in Baghdad, but they're roughly simultaneous. And then after that, there's a fall, the states splinter, the Mongols come and destroy Baghdad, which is usually taken as the end, basically. And then the Ottomans, you know, that's considered a dark age. And in the 19th century, it is considered to be a Renaissance. And obviously, contemporary history writing wants to push against that because it's a very easy narrative to make, but it usually doesn't fit the facts.
Right. And I think we see that in a lot of different fields, like with European studies, there's a lot of pushback against the Dark Ages.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so I need to figure out where I'm settling. And I guess my capital can't reach that campus, but we have another fissure here.
Wow.
So we will put that there. And
so
then,
fizzy over here.
And if I want to settle here, I can't then settle here. So I think what we'll do is one settlement down here and then count to 4. Try to pick the hills as much as I can instead of flatland. So I'll settle there. And then for this one, again, same idea. And then down here, I saw another fissure over here. So for this one, I guess we can do a harbor city down there. So then I have to count to 4, which is the honey. So I think we'll do a like government plaza shenanigans over here because there's not a lot of coral reefs. Are they coral reefs or just reefs?
Just reefs.
Okay, yeah. But I think we can do 2 campi over here.
Wow.
And they'll get adjacency.
Looks
so
pretty
that's
good to
kind
me.
of my plan. So first, I think we need to settle up here. So that's why I was already moving
block
that
off
way.
the Ottomans a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so what's interesting is that for the early Islamic historians, and usually the texts that we have are from quite a bit after the Prophet's life, and those we have only as excerpts in later works. So we're going through multiple layers. But for the early Muslim historians, the era before Islam naturally was also a dark age, right? And it has a very, very apt name for that. It's called Jahiliyyah, which is the time of ignorance.
Right.
And we really have a lot of difficulties in saying things for sure about that period.
Right.
Because we don't have a lot of textual records. What we do is things like poetry, later histories, or reports from the Byzantines, the Persians, who were very dismissive.
Right. Not the most your enemy is not your most trustworthy source.
Exactly.
That applies to, for example, the Persians. One of our major sources on the ancient Persians are the ancient Greeks. And I have to tell you, that guy, what's his name? Herodotus?
Yeah.
Not super trustworthy. I'm just going to say it.
But also we have a little bit of an issue because, like, we know that there are very large, complicated states in southern Arabia, in Yemen. But we really don't know that much about them.
Right.
We have their inscriptions. We have archaeological records. We have records, again, from other cultures. So the Queen of Sheba in the Bible is supposed to be a Yemeni princess.
Right.
But again, we don't know necessarily a huge amount in detail.
Right.
And so for us, a lot of it comes from, again, records that are later, records that are from the Islamic period, and from things like poetry that survived through that period.
And so poetry is a major aspect of the pre-Islamic world, right? I remember in one of my classes, they were talking about like poetry slams, like poetry battles, kind of like a rap battle, but with poems, right?
So poetry was one of the really main venues through which communal bonds were formed, through which people expressed themselves. There was very much an oral culture. So both men and women poets expressed themselves through these forms, and it was one of the ways in which clans would battle was through these poetry battles. And in fact, so pre-Islamic Arabia, very much a clan-based society, lots of feuds, fighting between these clans, but also
what do you mean
together.
by clans?
So extended family groups, and that
Right.
family can include, hundreds of people. It's not just.
Oh, I got the boost from bronze working from the frickin' tribal hut. Are you serious? I was on my way to kill this. Well, I guess in case I didn't, it was good to get.
have,
yeah. But something more useful next time, please. Oh, and we get our pantheon here.
Nice. Oh, sure, yeah.
So I think because we have all this tobacco here and I saw some chocolate, maybe we can get culture from plantations.
Okay.
I don't think we have a very breathtaking appeal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad.
It's not disgusting.
Well, it's disgusting over here.
A little bit disgusting.
But it's not great, And I don't think we're going to be working, for example, we're not even working that tile. And then I think that's kind of like all we have going for us. We have quarries, but we just have 2. And I'm definitely going to be chopping off this stone. So I think let's just go for a culture from plantations.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, goddess of festivals. There we go.
And so pre-Islamic Arabia is a very actually interesting place in terms of religion and pantheons, because you have influences from Judaism, Christianity, from Mesopotamian religion. You have influences from Ethiopia. So it's all coming together in this area. So pre-Islamic Mecca, which will become the center of Islam, is again this mix of communities. It's mostly polytheistic. So there's different goddesses that are kind of main figures. But also you have Jewish communities, you have Christian communities, so it's very multi-confessional.
Right.
And you see that also in the way that the Islamic message is received.
Right.
So when Muhammad goes to Medina, he encounters an already very established Jewish community that has, an awareness of this theology, right?
Right, and a lot of what we know about this period and this place is from the Quran itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is not a textual source; it's a memorized source.
Yeah, so that's
slightly different.
As we were saying, there's a very much oral culture, and so memory was very highly praised in this culture because people had to recite very long odes, laments, epics, and so there's a very, very honed craft of memorization. So the Quran was actually memorized by these people, called Hafezes.
Yes, sorry to interrupt, but I just bought a boat. It was maybe a rash decision. It's
nice.
Like, honey, I bought a boat. But I think it'll help with error score, except there is, I'm just going to run away. Don't even worry about it. And I think I'm going to settle down here because I need to start the government plaza.
That makes sense.
Sooner rather than later.
We got Byzantium too.
Oh, yes, we did.
But we did found Mecca, so that's good.
Yeah, which we were just speaking about.
Now, what is the kind of central architectural feature of Mecca?
So I think everyone probably associates Mecca with the Kaaba, which is basically square. It's a square stone building. I believe the stone under the cloth is black, but the cloth that people adorn it with is also black. And we saw this actually in the museum in Istanbul. They had like an old cloth that they replace often, but the inscription was woven in gold and silver. It was quite extraordinary.
It looked very heavy.
Yeah, it looked very heavy, but it was so extraordinary. So you have this sort of square building that people, I hate this word, but I'm going to try my best to say it, circumambulate. What's the word?
Yeah, I think that's it. Circumambulate. Maybe?
Circumambulate.
They walk around it.
They walk around it.
They go around.
Yeah.
And this is one of the rituals that existed before Islam, but was incorporated into Islamic practice.
Yeah.
So the Kaaba was the sort of main feature of Mecca in that time. In Islamic tradition, it's sort of coterminous with humanity. So Adam built it, Abraham consecrated it into a temple to God. It became a polytheistic temple, and then Muhammad brought it back to monotheism.
Yeah, so this is the sort of story or narrative that's told that Muslims sort of share and pass down.
And the Kaaba in the pre-Islamic times had various statues to the goddesses, and it also had poetry, which would hang down from the ceiling. And so that kind of shows the value of poetry in that culture, right? Is that even in the most sacred spaces, you have poetry valued in that way.
And so there was a lot of poetry. Oh, not another galley. Please, no. Oh, it's half.
So,
it's
yeah,
a little. Yeah, okay.
Maybe get it.
Yeah. There was some poetry sort of passed down in the Kaaba, right? And that's how we have access to some of it.
Yeah, exactly. This is the stuff that was valued as the highest examples of Arabic poetry. And even into the Islamic period, this was considered to be the highest sort of craft of poetry, were these poems. And you can read them too. They're translated. Obviously very varied translations because the language is quite expressive and very different from English, but you can read them. They're very beautiful poems. Imru Qais has one very nice poems that is like one of the classics.
Yeah, like can you tell us a little bit of like what the poetry's like?
Yeah,
a lot of lamentations, right?
Yeah, so the poetry, for example, the poem that I mentioned, is called a qasideh. It's an ode. In Ottoman, qasideh will kind of just mean an ode to a person, but here it's a very specific form involving...
Oh my god, they're double attacking me. No. Where did this one come from?
Oh my god.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
I literally just
bought it.
No.
I feel like Elon with Twitter.
Yeah. I have no escape.
Yeah.
I just have to sacrifice my boat. If I go here, well, they'll kill me anyways. That's so sad. That's actually the saddest thing. Please, someone write an ode to my boat.
But yeah, so the odes will have specific features. So the first section will be about abandoning a campsite. The next part will be about a lost love. And the next part will be an ode to a camel or a horse.
Yeah.
And
Bow.
or bow. And but within that form there's so much variety and so much just emotion that's conveyed. So yeah, I really recommend reading some Jahiliyyah poetry if you're interested.
Yeah.
So as we mentioned with the Kaaba, one of the unique features of Mecca as a city was that because it had the Kaaba, there was a kind of holiness about the city, even before Islam, that meant that it was sort of safe from these blood feuds, right? Once you entered into the space of Mecca, you had to kind of put your feud to the side, right? And this made Mecca very useful as a spot to do commerce, right? Because there's tribes that can't talk to each other without fighting. But once you go to Mecca, you have a space where you can actually do trade and communicate again.
Right.
So because of that, Mecca became a kind of trading hub, mostly for things like dates, leather, not like amazing goods, but like things that were, necessary and useful to the people who lived in that area. And so Muhammad, was born in that environment, right? He's born into a trading family, and there's different communities within the city. So one very famous story is that they were renovating the Kaaba, which happened every now and again, and there was a big fight about who was to set the first foundation stone back into the renovated Kaaba. And they're all about to fight, they're all about to start a feud. And then someone points to young Muhammad and says, let's pick this guy, because everyone kind of likes him. He's not a enemy of anyone.
Right.
So he's the one who lays the first stone and solves the dispute. And that's a little bit of a hagiographic thing. It probably comes from the
do you want to explain what that is? Hagiographic?
Yeah, so like the...
Hagiographic?
Yeah, it's like the stories of sacred people.
Yeah.
And we have a very early biography of the Prophet, which we based a lot of information on. But again, we don't know how much of that is accurately conveyed. There's a tradition in Islam which is very important called the Hadith, which is the stories of the actions of the Prophet.
Oh, am I going to sacrifice my warrior for era score? I only have 8 turns to get. I don't think I do the sacrifice.
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I have 8 turns, so hopefully it'll be fine. Oh, this is rough. And I want another galley. I guess I could buy another galley soon. Yeah. Is it worth it?
I don't know.
Not if it's going to be hard.
Immediately die.
Yeah. What do I... Oops. But I can actually, maybe I need to buy this tile and place my... I can't do it next turn. Okay.
You got writing.
Yeah, so next turn I will get era score from writing. Okay. Or from... Like, I'll get era score for my campus once that's done. Hopefully I can do that in 7 turns. You just heal a little bit. So that'll be like, I don't know, 2 or 3.
Okay.
I don't know if it's enough. Oh no. Okay, so now I can do it. I do want to chop it out. Do I have time to chop? Probably not. Let's see, what are we at? So we're at 7. So it'll take 1 turn to do it. And how much production is it? It's 78. I think it's better to chop it. It'll get done faster. So okay. It's gonna be tight. And then where? Okay, so that's like 2 or 3, and that's 2 or 3. That's still not enough. You find something. Please.
Can we get a hero maybe?
Oh yeah, I should do a hero. But I can't do both. Yeah, I can't do both. Okay, well, let's just see. If I don't get it, I don't get it. It's early on. The second golden age matters more. So, yeah. Let's get irrigation so we can get the tobacco online.
Okay. Yeah, so as I was saying with Hadith, again, it's because it's, again, rooted in oral tradition, it's very important that it be authentic. So you need to have authentic narrators of it. Yeah. So a lot of this early history very much depends upon the authenticity and trust that we have in the narrators of that piece of information.
Yeah, similar to what we were speaking about, the sources.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I'm so dumb. I finished craftsmanship before getting the boost, even though I was just building a builder right now. I just needed like one mine and it would have been done. Okay, well now I can actually work on the hero. Let's get Himiko.
Okay.
I guess. I didn't really want Himiko. It only takes one turn. I can also get Maui. What's better? Probably Himiko though.
Okay.
Because that also will help with era scores later on. Because with Himiko, you can get suzerainty of other city-states. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that is 2.
Okay.
Then if I get this, that is going to be 3. Okay.
2. That's not
okay.
too bad.
Okay, I think I can do this.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, wait, I have to wait one more turn. I don't think I want to fight them with my scout, though.
Maybe
so
not.
let's turn around. And then...
Let's send Himiko over to...
Well, which one's better? Singapore or Auckland? This will get you +1 in production in your boats, on your water tiles. And this one will get you for your trade routes. I don't have either, so neither of these are super helpful. I think Valletta would be the most helpful. But if I need the era score, this is closer.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's see. Do I need the era score? How many turns do I have? 4 turns. Okay, so here's my idea.
Okay.
If you go here, go to the queue, get rid of your settler, then you chop, and then all that production goes into the thing here that you place afterwards.
Okay.
It says 5 turns and 4 turns. I think I can do it without Himiko.
Well, maybe let's use Himiko if we need to.
If we need to. I don't need to.
Get her in position.
I'll get her in position, but I don't need to.
Okay.
Don't think so.
So we do know a little bit about pre-Islamic Arabia from Byzantine and Persian sources.
Yeah. And like what area or do you mean when you say pre-Islamic Arabia?
I guess you could say 3 areas of Arabia, but there's also Arabic-speaking populations during this time in Syria, Palestine. So like, for example, there's a Roman emperor named Philip the Arab who comes from Syria. But when you talk about Arabia, which I guess is the name of the civ, there's kind of 3 main areas of settled activity during this time period. One is along the southern coast of Arabia, which is contemporary Yemen and Oman. And this is where you see really complex, very large imperial states. Mostly under the cultural influence of Ethiopia, but also receiving influence from India, Mesopotamia, Egypt, places like this. Then in the west, you have what's called the Hijaz. And that is nice. I got the Golden Age.
I did get the Golden Age. So that is amazing. So in the west, what's that?
You have the Hijaz, which is where Mecca and Medina are. And there's a more small sort of city-states, trading outposts, these kind of things. And then in the center of what is today Saudi Arabia, you have Najd, which is where the capital of Saudi Arabia is. And it's very arid, but it has some mountainous regions as well.
Great. And literally just in time, we got that Golden Age. I think we're going to stop the episode here and tune in on the next one to see what happens in the next era.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye.